Hello everyone, we are from Group 3 of Literature subject. First of all, let me introduce our member team. There is myself, Agnes, Rosalyn, Siahaan, and the other my friends is Alfina, Damayanti, Shevira, Wanda, Rizka, and Risma, Putri, Windani. So, here we wanna give you some tips to improving reading, writing, speaking, and listening skills using short stories. So you must asking, what is short story? So I will explain it. Short story is a piece of prose fiction that typically can be read in one sitting, focused to self-contained incident or series of linked incidents. So that is about short story, and you have known about it. So here we have 4 subtopics to talk about. The first is reading, the second is writing, the third is speaking, and the fourth is listening. And then I will explain about reading. Okay, reading skills, how to read short story. So short stories are very useful in 3 years to improve students' vocabulary and reading. And a person who read literary texts made better improvement in vocabulary and reading. These activities are related to form, meaning, and use respectively. The first tips how to read is make a difficult word chart, because this activity helps students or you to learn more vocabulary, and it also teaches them how to use a dictionary, of course, okay? And then the second is write the letter of the definition synonym in column B that most closely matches each word or phrase in column A. In this activity, the words or phrase in column A come from the story students are reading. So the definitions and or synonyms provided in column B must match the meaning with the words phrase in the context of the story to help students to understand how a different word or phrase can be used in the same content. And then the last tips, the third, choose the word or phrase from column A in the previous activity the best fits each of the following sentences. So you may need to add is to a plural word or to a third person singular or a verb in the present tense, ed to the past tense of regular verbs, ing for present participle, and etc. In this activity, the third, students practice using the words they already understand the meaning of. High, intermediate, and advanced students also profit from literary texts. What they read gives them the opportunity to come up with their own insights and helps them speak the language in a more imaginative way. So this is in their own way. And then they become more creative since they are faced with their own point of view that those of the main character or characters of the story and those of their peers. By interacting with the text, they interpret what they read. By interpreting what they read, they can work toward speaking English more creatively.
So the next one is writing. Short story can be a powerful and motivating source for writing in ESL or EFL, both as model and also as a subject matter. Short story can occur as a model when the student's writing becomes closely similar to the original work or imitates its content, theme, organization, or style. However, when students' writing exhibits original thinking like interpretation or analysis, or it emerges from or is creatively stimulated by the reading, it means that literature serves as subject matter. This is in line with Oster's statement, which affirms that literature helps students to write more creatively. Using short story, teacher can create variety of writing activities to help the students to develop their writing skills. And now I'm gonna tell you some of the activities. The first thing you have to do is to bring a short story, for example, A Long Walk Home by Jason Bocarro. I'm gonna put the link on the description box below. And then you can assign the students some activities. The first activity is you can ask the student to write a dialogue between Jackson and his father. Jackson and his father is the two characters of the story Long Walk Home. The second activity, you can ask the students to paraphrase the last two paragraphs of the story. The third activity, you can ask the student to summarize the story in 5 to 7 sentences, including character, setting, conflicts, climax, and resolution. The fourth activity, ask the students to write one sentence on the theme of the story. The next activity, you can ask the student to write a paragraph to explain what they think Jackson has learned from that experience. The last but not least, you can ask the students to write a review on the story. They can write what they like or what they dislike in the story.
The third skills is speaking skills. Short story can also be a powerful and motivating source for teaching speaking skills. Oral reading, dramatization, improvisation, role-playing, and discussion are some effective learning activities which center on short EFL classes can use for enhancing speaking skills. Some activities teachers can assign to develop students' speaking skills by using short stories are: the first is students read the story aloud as a chain activity. The first students read the first sentence, the second student takes the second sentence, the third student's third sentence, and so forth. Such activity will enhance students' fluency and pronunciation in an interesting way. It is suitable for elementary class. In intermediate class, the students retell the stories as a chain activity in small groups. Each student will have a lot of opportunities to practice the relevant connectors or other discourse markers in a meaningful context. They certainly should have been given a list of the connectors and discourse makers beforehand. The third is in advanced class, the students are grouped into two groups and then discuss about the story. The first group choose to agree with the topic. Meanwhile, the second group is disagree about the topic. And the fourth is role play as extending activity useful to develop students' speaking skills and to make the students more involved in the story. This can be carried out by asking students to role play the several characters, for example, instructing them to imagine that they are Jacksons, and then they tell the partner why you were late coming from the garage and make sure that they are convincing. The second is suppose that they are the receptionists of the garage in which Jackson took the car, and then tell the Jackson's father about the car.
Okay, next is about listening. There's some activity to improve listening skill by using short story. The first is start with cover or a pic related to the story. As you can see, these are some examples about cover or illustrations from the short story. So, if you're going to read a story or a book to your students, it would be better if you start listening lesson with showing the cover of the book or little illustration first, because we can stimulate student first and often seem like a simple picture at first may have many different clues about the content of the story you will be read. Students can feel the main character or book characters, the setting of the book, and the conflicts that the main character will face, as well as the clues to important objects and minor characters. We can take the time at the beginning to talk about picture and let students make prediction about what will be read to them. And the second, read the story out loud so students have opportunity to listen to a native speaker of English if at all possible, or play the story if a recording is available. The activity can be carried out for fun or for students to find answers to a question given and explain to them before listening activity start. For students to understand the story when they listen to it for the first time, the question can be based on literary structure such as who is the main character of the story, where or when does the story take place, what is the problem or the conflict in the story, or how is the conflict resolved. And fourth is watching short movie. Not all stories come in ink and paper. Sometimes the best stories are communicated through frame and pixels. So welcome the use of movies in your class. Movies can be a great way to expose your students to different accents in English, for example British and American accents. Since we probably don't speak to students with this accent, so movies are a great way to expand student listening skills. The last is make mystery vocabulary as a way to achieve learning goals. One of the difficulties experienced by many learners of English as a foreign language is when listening to audio in English, they will panic at unfamiliar words. So let them be curious and try to predict what it means. To teach this skill to your students, mention the word that you want them to guess, then read the selected word 2 or 3 times. Next, ask students to guess based on the context what the word means. And to more understanding, challenge them further and see if they can spell the word after only hearing it and not seeing it written. Well, that's all about some activities that can be done in class to improve 4 basic skills in English like reading, writing, speaking, and listening by using short story.